Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 23rd, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You got the Pacific Northwest to the right of the screen, and probably one of the first things your eyes draw you to is this storm system out across the Gulf of Alaska. This system here initially a few days ago looked like it was going to include more of the Pacific Northwest, but has been trending a bit further south towards California. So we're going to look at some of those details here, and we'll take a look at the extended forecast as always as we go through the video here this morning. Looking at things right now, there is a little bit of marine layer across some of northwest Washington into the Chehalis Gap there. Some of the river valleys, you might get a little bit of fog as well, but generally speaking, most places are basking in the sunshine here this morning. You can see the snow-capped mountains of the Washington, Oregon Cascades, and the Rocky Mountains. Some mid-level clouds moving across. There is a little bit of light precipitation across the southern Oregon. We'll look at that here in a moment as well. And you can kind of see it right there. It was raining at Lakeview a little bit this morning, and some precipitation occurring across some of the higher terrain of Idaho. Not much to speak of, though, there. And another little bit of a chilly start to the morning here, but we will be ramping those temperatures up again. And in fact, if you look at Tillamook, it was still reporting about 3/4 of a mile visibility there. So a little bit of marine stratus layer there, and same thing down towards North Bend, Oregon. Looks like it was right on a half mile with some fog as well. Now, lightning strikes over the last 24 hours down to California. Before you get any lightning strikes, nothing here across Pacific Northwest. That may be changing a little bit here, especially across some portions of Oregon and Idaho and maybe Montana as we go on in towards the end of the week. Show you more on that here in a moment. And speaking of lightning detection, this system has a great one on it. It tells you the distance of the strikes. It picks up all the strikes around you and whatnot and tells you when they're occurring. Very fun stuff. Click on the link down below to save 10% off, and you can read here all the things that this weather station does. Very fun. Now, look at the European. This is yesterday's, last night's run versus 24 hours prior. So we're looking over a full day back on the right. And this is the most recent one here on the left. So if we put this into motion, you can kind of see the ridge that's bringing us our warmth here. And you can kind of see the trough just to the south of that ridge, though, kind of still hanging on and continue to bring some of that precipitation there. But again, it's not too much. And then we stay warm through Thursday and Friday across a lot of the region. But then this system on the day Friday will be moving into California. And this is going to spread some precipitation back up and across portions of Oregon. I'll show you more on that here in a moment, but you can clearly see the trend further south and a bit stronger with this system as well for California anyway, and a little bit lesser of impacts here across Pacific Northwest. So we continue off into the forecast there, and then you can see that system trudging off to the east, and then we kind of rebuild that ridge there, at least according to the European deterministic run. I'll show you the artificial intelligence one here in a moment, and if you want to help support the channel, otherwise the Patreon page is great. It's in the link down below as well. I put all my daily updates on here so you can see them when they come out. I know YouTube sometimes doesn't always update immediately when those updates come out. Now, taking a look at the European model, you can see that precipitation there as we go on into the day today, and largely that's moving off. It's probably going to create some snowy conditions across Yellowstone as you go through the day tomorrow. And then you can see the next system is shaping up. That's the one we saw in the infrared satellite imagery, and this thing starts to fire off some precipitation. This could have some lightning potential as we go on into the day Thursday. In fact, that's about Thursday afternoon. There's Thursday afternoon. There's Thursday evening. You can see some of that activity there, kind of a negatively tilted portion of that trough back up and across some of the Oregon coast. And then as we go on through Friday, you can see some of this precipitation as well. There could be some thunderstorm activity with that. Not much for Washington or BC out of this system. It's not looking like anyway. And you can kind of see that upper level low spinning across Nevada. There's still going to be this trough here. It could kick off a few showers, mainly across the higher terrain of Washington. And then we get a frontal system coming in on Monday that starts to brush the area. We'll see how this trends over the next few days as well. It does look like it might bring some light precipitation here in towards western Washington. Now, if we look at lightning flash density potential, so if we scroll on in through the day on Thursday, there you go. Thursday afternoon, we start to destabilize things a little bit here across portions of Idaho and portions of Oregon. Then we go through Friday, a little bit something similar. We'll see how this trends tomorrow as well. And you can see some lightning potential across the Oregon Cascades and portions of southern Oregon, Idaho. And then we go on in through the Saturday afternoon time period here, and this upper level low is going to be continuing to trudge off to the east and continuing to bring some lightning threat for the interior areas Now, if we take a look at the wider view of things, this is the European artificial intelligence. There's Alaska to the upper left. You've got Washington, Oregon, and Idaho right there where I'm circling on the map. Put that into motion. Again, you see that little bit of a trough there, but this ridge giving us our nice weather here across much of the region. System dropping down into California. Again, Idaho and Oregon, main impacts from this storm. Of course, California, but this Pacific Northwest weather watch. And we're keeping things fairly dry across Washington, B.C. through this weekend. Then on the day Monday, you can kind of see a little bit of a trough right there. That's what's going to be trying to bring that next little system through here. It's not much. And you can see maybe another one there, but the ridging not far off. And we'll continue to watch to see how active this Gulf of Alaska trough is going to get as we head off in towards the early portion of May, because that has an active look to it. But again, we're looking over 10 days out in the forecast. So total precipitation in inches. This is the higher resolution deterministic European model. And as you see, as we go on in through the day today, here we actually, let me update that because that looks like that is an old map. So here we go. That's better. Now you can kind of see the precipitation occurring as we go through the day today. Again, Idaho, southern Oregon, portions of Nevada. We scroll on in towards Thursday, another very warm day here across a lot of the area, but the system is going to be starting to impinge on Oregon and starting to bring some of that thunderstorm potential as we go through Thursday afternoon. Again, as I mentioned, you can kind of see the motion of some of this precipitation, that negatively tilted trough that moves back up towards the northwest. Then we go through Friday night and into Saturday. There's still going to be some showery activity here across portions of Oregon, thunderstorm potential with that. And you can kind of see yesterday we had that precipitation. Precipitation amounts were a bit higher across the central and northern Oregon Cascades. It's definitely pushed that back down towards the south. And as we scroll on in towards next week, a little bit of light precip showing up for Seattle, more across Vancouver Island and western BC. But again, we'll watch that one over the next couple of days as well. So looking at the temperatures today, I mean, a nice glorious day out there. Look at some of these temperatures. You're getting into the 70s here for the Willamette Valley, probably mid and upper 60s for some western Washington, southwest BC, eastern Washington, up towards 70 as well. You can see Boise and Treasure Valley getting up into the upper 60s. And if we take a look here at daily 2-meter max temperature, I already told you that, but here we go. Thursday, April 24th. This is tomorrow. I mean, look at these temperatures just ramp up. You're talking about low, mid 70s, maybe some upper 70s for the Willamette Valley, eastern Washington, nice and warm also. And then Friday, that storm system is moving down into California, and you can kind of see the temperatures dropping off across the southern half of Oregon as we go through the day Friday, but still another fairly warm day, it looks like, for Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, BC, eastern Washington, getting up towards 80. We go through Saturday, still not a bad day here as well. Then we go through Sunday, and we get this little bit of a trough swinging through there and bringing some light precipitation across the area as we go on in towards, looks like on the day Monday. And then we go on to the next week and maybe bouncing back a little bit there as well. Look at next Thursday showing 71. But again, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt that far out in the forecast. Looking at the European artificial intelligence, put this into motion. You kind of see as we go through the day on Thursday, right there, Thursday afternoon, there's that southwest Oregon thunderstorm potential as we go through Thursday night. Low pressure system spins across, again, targeting southern Oregon, southern Idaho as we go on in towards the weekend. And then we go through Sunday, and you see it may be kicking off a shower across the Cascades, nothing too extreme. And then we go through Monday, and there's that weak frontal system. Again, we'll be watching that one to see how far south that is going to get. Is that going to bring some rainfall to southwest BC, British Columbia, and Bellingham up there? We'll go ahead and monitor that over the next couple of days because it kind of wants to hang out the precipitation a bit as we go through the early portion of next week, and then we dry out a bit here there for another couple of days, and we go on in towards next week, and we'll see what's going to happen with that later. Total precipitation in inches, we'll scroll through this fairly quickly and kind of see, again, Oregon being targeted, and then that system arrives early next week. Some bigger amounts, I mean, a pretty sharp precipitation cutoff there as you go through Tuesday afternoon. 3+ inches for Vancouver Island, some areas of western BC getting up over 2 inches, in Seattle and Portland, much less on that. So we'll watch that axis of that frontal system and just exactly where that is going to set up. Here's the 15-day precipitation anomaly. Should be no surprise here. Pretty sharp precipitation cutoff somewhere right across the Washington, BC border, it looks like. but we'll be watching that day by day. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. At that above average signal as we go through the early portion of May. There's the 6 to 10 day precipitation, below normal signal there across the west coast. The above normal signal here as we go on in through the early portion of May yet again, and kind of a mixed bag there for some of the region. This is so what are we looking at here? Actual mean temperature here, anomalies. So this is April 1st through April 22nd. So far the Pacific Northwest, we've been enjoying a relatively warm April, especially west of the Cascades. Here you see western Washington and western Oregon have been above average so far for the month of April. So anyway, we'll watch this storm system here. Check back tomorrow for that. We'll see if there's going to be any changes and just how much precipitation will be riding up across portions of Oregon. And we'll watch that frontal system as we go on through the early portion of next week. Is that going to bring some precip as far south as Seattle or Portland? Is yet to be determined. So anyway, check back tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, get out there and enjoy that nice weather over the next few days as well. And I will talk to you guys later.